Okay, we're going to start about emergent literacy today. We're going to talk about emergent literacy. So what is emergent literacy? So today we're going to look at what is emergent literacy and how to prepare children to read and write at young age. So I'm going to just throw you some questions about emergent literacy. Just can you write down, anybody, just whoever is there, what is emergent literacy? Do you know? We're just having some discussion. I'm not asking you any questions or anything. Don't worry about that. I'm not going to judge you on what you know and what you don't know. Just tell me, what do you think? What is emergent literacy? So can you just type it up, please? What is emergent literacy? What do you think? What is emergent literacy? Anybody? What do you think? What is emergent literacy? Samaji, Ramaji, or Sonikaji, or anybody else who's there? What do you think? What is emergent literacy? No? Nobody's got any idea? Okay. So emergent literacy is about preparing children to read and write before they are ready to read and write. So it's about reading and writing. Pretty much it's about reading and writing, but it's just preparing them for that reading and writing. Preparing them for reading and writing before they can read and write. Literacy can be divided in two factors, reading and writing, and we are looking at both factors today. I would like to have some communication from people who are joining in, so I know you can listen to me. This annoying thing in webinar, you can't see if the people are you still there? Can you just drop in a few things, what I just said? What is emergent literacy? What do you think? What is emergent literacy? Are you still there? Okay, so there are this, as I said, emergent literacy is about preparing children to read and write before they are ready to read and write. Literacy can be divided in two factors, reading and writing, and we are looking at both factors today. Okay, so there are stages of writing. So children will start reading and writing in stages. So they can't just write straight away their name. So there will be some stages of writing. So they'll start, as if you can see on the screen, they'll start with drawing. Then the second stage will be coming as scribbling, and the third stage is letter formation, and then inventing spellings and convention spellings and writing. So I'm going to show you the stages of writing here, if you can see on my screen. So that's going to be the first stage here, is when they just do, which for you or for us, for the teachers who don't know the children, they just say they are just doing some scribbling. Yeah, but that is going to be their first stage, and we need to understand as earliest practitioner or earliest teachers or childcare teachers or preschool teachers, whatever you want to call yourself, that's going to be their first stage. And then they start making or copying words. So when somebody has written something, they'll start copying the words. You might not be able to understand that, and they'll start to make some figures as well. And then the third one will be drawing in strings of letters. And then they're making early phonetics writing. And then the stage 5, they will start to write something which you can or adults can understand. And the last one will be when they go to year 2 or 3, when they can start the whole sentences. And there are some more examples here, how children's stages of writing goes up. Yeah, so they can't, to start with, they can't make straight away, they can't write the letters. Making like round or semicircles or circle is hard for them. And as an earliest practitioner, you should understand that. So children are going to have some stages of writing here. Do you all understand the stages of writing, what you've written? So can I have some communication from attendees, please? Do you understand the stages of writing here? So drawing and copying the writing, copying the word. So drawing is going to be the very first one here, and then copying the word and drawing the letters and strings of letters. and the phonetics writing come on 5th stage, 5th or 6th stage, so it doesn't come straight away. So as an early stage teachers, you need to understand these stages. Children cannot start A, B, C, D straight away. So unfortunately, when I went to see some schools in or some preschools in India, and that's what parents are expecting, and then straight away maybe then the teachers don't have any other choice, and they straight away making them just sit down and can you write A, B, C, D, or even A, B, C, D. They're not even asking them to write their names. Which is in a way not good. You should know that children cannot write their name. This is the very 5th stage of their writing, when they will really start to make their own wordings or their A, B, C, D, if you want to know. Or mostly they will start writing their own names first rather than writing A, B, C, D. So how can you prepare the child to the final stage? So what can you do? Can I have some communication from other people, please? Because it's not fun doing webinar if I can't. I don't know what other people are thinking about the writing stages. So what do you think, what as a teacher you can do when you're teaching in preschool? What can you do? I'm not going to judge anybody here. So what can you do for preparing children so they can just move from one stage to another stage to third stage to fourth stage? What will be your role? How can you support children with their writing? Can I have some few things in here, few views from anybody here? Okay. So how can you prepare a child to move to final stages of writing? This is related to pencil grasp. Pencil grasp is when how children are holding the pencil, basically. Okay, so as you can see on the screen, this is related to pencil grasp, which is an important milestone of fine motor skills. Okay, the pencil grasp is the coordination of index finger and thumb to hold an item. So if you can see the picture on the screen, children would not be able, so holding the pencil correctly, that stage will come later on, and that's called tripod grasp. Okay, so children when they are born, babies will be firstly they will be holding things like this with their hands. Okay, and then they will hold crayons like this. So if you ask them to write, so you cannot expect from 2 years old to write like something like this straight away, because they can't even write. So if you're asking a 2-year-old to write their name or a 3-year-old to write their name, you are not doing the right thing. So then from that big grasp, it goes to the cylindrical grasp, which is like this, and then it goes to digital grasp. I'm just explaining whatever is on the, I'll put a picture for you. So it's called digital grasp, and then they will holding the pencil, which is modified tripod grasp, and the last one will be the tripod grasp. So the 4.5 to 7 years old children are able to do that. Okay, so you shouldn't be expecting a child, a 3-year-old, that they can sit down and then they can write A, B, C, D, or write their own names as well. So how can you support children? How can you support children so they can develop their own tripod grasp? Okay, it is possible for children to write, but rather than you forcing them, and they can start writing at early age or whenever they're ready, but just forcing them to sit down and do the writing is not enough. There are different techniques and different strategies needs to be planned for that. And those strategies can be here. I put like you plan activities. I have told in my previous. I have just said that in my previous when we did a webinar about enabling environment, that you should be planning activities and preparing environment is very, very important. So you need to prepare environment where children are given opportunities to do some early writing. So we're going to just look at, or if somebody can drop me some idea here how you can prepare children for reading and writing, or maybe when we're just talking about writing here, what type of environment you can plan, what can you do? How can you prepare children differently? Can you hear me? If you can hear me, can you just write this? Yes, we can hear you. Just type it up, please, if you can hear me. Can you still hear me? Ladies over there, just say yes, you can hear me. All you need to do is just type it up to just say yes, we can hear you. Okay, we are all here. Our storybook, yeah, I can just see Sonika Vyasi is here as well now. Okay, I can't just see the thing. Let me just. So as we said, stages of writing, we usually give them. Let me read this. Reading this whole. We usually give them jumbo crayons to develop correct holding. Well then, at what age do you give them jumbo crayons to develop their correct holding? I've just heard something from one of the attendees. So what age you should be giving them jumbo crayon? What age the jumbo crayons are most suitable for? Anybody? At what age? Yeah, jumbo crayons. Okay. So if I go on this one, if I go on this link again here, and we can discuss the age group here. So what do you think the very first stage here, at what stage you think as a preschool teacher that children should be doing this very first stage and they should move to the second stage sooner? What stage do you think? 2-year child? Yes, that's right. 2-year-old child, sometimes 3-year-old child as well, but yes, 2-year-old child, and they will be using um, thick crayons. You have to give them thick crayons and all. At what stage do you think the children will move to the second stage where they start to make sentence? So they're copying the words when you're giving them words. So they start making words. Second one, the child copies words from handy resources like books and posters, or if you put some walls, word walls or anything, the writing makes sense and shows knowledge of the letter formation. What do you think at what age the children should be able to do that? Or you should be expecting from children to do that? It's nice to have some conversation. Doesn't matter if your views are going wrong. Well, we just think that 4-year-old, around 4 year, 3 to 4, 3.5 to 4-year-old, again, depending on the child. But yes, once they start to go to the school or reception, they should be able to sometime, yeah, at age around 4-year-old, they should be. So you shouldn't be expecting a 3-year-old child or 2.5-year-old child to do letter formation, to doing the letter formation, but they should be able to do it at 3 to 4-year-old. Okay, so we have discussed this pincer grasp. So that's what the picture is over there. Okay, so the big crayons, and then it goes to digital grasp, then it goes to modified tripod grasp, and then it should be going to tripod grasp in the end. So how do you support children so they can develop their writing? You plan activities. Yeah, so you plan different activities to develop their grasps. It's called pincer grasp. Prepare environment, very, very important. So I've just put here that you can start this so that you can increase, you can support children, and that can start when they are babies. So you don't have to wait for children when they're 3-year-old or 4-year-old, because pincer grasp is all about fine motor skills. So you should just prepare babies, you can think for babies as well. So babies, so you give them finger food. So anybody's got any idea what is finger food? How do you do finger food? What is finger food? Just type it up. What does that mean? Finger food. So you give them lots of finger food because they are picking things up. When they're sitting down on a table or a high chair or something, you give them some food like Cheerios or something which they can pick. So anything that can encourage them to develop their fine motor skills. So give them lots of finger food to eat. Give babies toys that include picking up. So there are lots of baby toys, and you should give them those baby toys so that can encourage their fine motor skills. So you can start it from as young as when they are babies and when they're sitting down, basically. So when they can say sit down, 6 months old, you can start working on their pincer grasp without knowing them. It should be all done through play though. So somebody said no about finger food. So finger food is small raisins, like chopped up fruits, or some Cheerios. You know, nowadays those cereals. So any baby food, you just put them in front of children. Yeah, when they're sitting on the high chair, and then they are picking it up and they're putting it in their mouth. So it's not only encouraging their fine motor skills. There are lots of other things in there as well. When that's encouraging their independence and all. So I'm just glad that there is some communication coming from other people. Toddlers, so toddlers when they are 2 to 3 year old, so when they're playing with Play-Doh, Play-Doh is very, very important again. And we all know what Play-Doh is. Play-Doh, you can make Play-Doh at home. And there are lots of recipes available online, but it's a very, very nice, again, resource for children where they can play with that. They just like kneading Play-Doh, or they can play with clay and all those things. So anything that, again, can give their fine motor skills or their fingers or pincer grasp some exercise. They need loads of exercise, and that will really help them to write. And that's what preschool teachers need to understand. Especially, I'm not judging anybody or generalizing anybody, but in India, I have seen that straight away children are coming 3 year old and they've been asked to sit down and write A, B, C, D. They can't do that. They physically, it's not possible for them. But what you can do, you can give them lots of things to play with, which can encourage which can give exercise to their fine motor skills, and then that will help them to get a correct grasp on their pencil, and that will help them to able to write. So toddlers, if you have got 2 to 3 year old, I've been in some settings in India where the 2 to 3 year old have 2 to 3 year old room. So to develop their pincer grasps, yes, playing with Play-Doh, using spoons, there is no harm. They can use a spoon. So when you're giving them food, again, they're holding the spoon and they're feeding themselves. Two advantages: independence, so you don't have to feed them. They are feeding themselves. And again, it's helping them. Although they're going to use a spoon, I've seen 2 to 3 year old, they feed themselves, they're going to make mess, doesn't matter. But again, it's helping them to develop their fine motor skills. Trick crayons, we talked about that. Beads, we have laces and beads, some toys. And you have seen laces and beads? So like laces and beads, so you have them in 2 to 3 year old rooms. So they're just doing some sort of beading there. So anything that helps them to hold their, give exercise. Do you have any other ideas, anybody in this group who can think about toys or an activity where that can help 2 to 3 year old to support their fine motor skills or pincer grasps? Anybody? Apart from some ideas I've given, so like playing with Play-Doh, playing with clay, using spoons, using thick crayons, thick beads, and sometimes let them put their coats on as well. And that's what we do as well here. So 2 year old can't do the zips, but at least they can pick their coats up. I know it's not cold in India, but anything, even in you have pretend play, role play, where you have dressing up corner in your rooms, just let them pretend to be superhero or anything that can help them to do their fine motor skills. Well, they're doing the buttons, yeah. So you can encourage them to do anything that have like some activities that include buttons and all. Painting, tie shoelaces, yeah, well done. Toddlers, it will be hard to tie shoelaces for 2 to 3 year old, but yes, you can do something. Basically, for 2 to 3 year old, there are some toys with got thick beads, really thick wooden beads, and they put the string in there. Okay, so those type of things. Because remember, toddlers still can't hold, their pencil grasps are not developed yet, so they need something big. Preschool children, painting, coloring in, eating with knife and fork, feeding themselves, shoelaces. They can start writing if they want to, playing with clay, again, doing their coats, doing their zips, anything that can encourage to do their to develop their fine motor skills. And believe me, when they're having these opportunities since they are babies, so when it's time for them to really write, their fine motor skills have developed. They have had enough exercise, so they can just sit down and they can write. 4 year old, yes, 4 year old is participating or practicing to write their own names. And that's the other thing. I think, which needs to be changed in some practices. Again, as I said, I will just talk about India. I don't know, I can't generalize again. Rather than expecting from children at such a young age of 4-year-old, rather than expecting from them to write A, B, C, D, E, F, G, because that's the different thing. You're trying to do two things from one activity. Why? To teach them A, B, C, D. So you're trying to teach them A, B, C, D, and you're trying to teach them to write. Separate these two things, okay? So if you need to do, well, you shouldn't be teaching A, B, C, D. That's about phonics. So we'll talk about phonics later on. But if you want children to learn to write, you should start it writing their own names. Can they write their own names? Can they write mummy? Can they write daddy? If they got dogs or cats at home, can they write their dogs and cats' name? Can they write their grandparents? So anyone which is near and dear to them, ask children to write their names. So that will encourage again children. As you said, children learn through play. I've said that in my previous webinars as well, and it's all on website. The children under 7, they learn through play. They will do things that interest them. A, B, C, D, there is no interest in there. Why should they write A, B, C, D? What is their interest in that? So they won't be interested, and they won't make efforts. Whereas if you ask a child, do you want to write your own name? They will do it. Okay, what do you want to do now? Do you want to write mummy? They will do it. Do you want to write papa, daddy? They will do it again. Whatever they like, if they got a favorite toy, if they got, so start writing. The writing skills start from there. So start it from there rather than just doing ABCD. Anybody's got any question about writing skills or any ideas you want? Any communication? I'm not having anybody. Anything about writing skills? Or you want to ask any questions? No? Okay, so as we did writing stages, there are stages for reading as well. So reading stages are, again, the first one will be emergent readers. And then we say additional early readers, transitional readers, and fluent readers. So again, the writing, the reading, the practice for reading, which they would not read, don't think the babies would read it as their children would read when they're very young. But it's very, very important for them that they have a language-rich environment. In babies and preschool age, they need to have language-rich environment in their settings. So rather than, again, you expect from that they straight away start reading a storybook or something at a very young age, you need to provide them language-rich environment. And research suggests that children who experience language-rich environment at their preschool and they're at home, same, they do really, really good at school. Anybody knows what language-rich environment is? Just drop in some ideas. As I said, I'm not judging anybody here. What does that mean? Here we start pattern writing. How important is pattern writing, like this standing line, sleeping line, etc. With pattern writing, yeah. Are you asking me questions, Sonikazi? What activities plan for writing? Okay, so writing activities, again, as I said, you don't need to just, somebody's asked me what activities you plan. You don't need to just straight away plan activities for writing, but yeah, depending on age, you can just give them some sheets to do. You can make a mark making corner on the side, and where you can leave some paper and pen, and then just see what children are making. Sheets are not good, but you can just put few sheets in there and just see if they can start writing and reading. Okay, and then later on, once you know that children can make patterns, if they can make a circle or half circle, the first thing you should start with, ask them to make mummy, daddy, and then they will make like a sticky figures, yeah. And then you know that if children can do some writing, and again, observe if they can hold the pencil properly or not. If they can't, if you are working with children, if they can't even hold pencil properly, you should just teach them how to hold pencil properly. There are some sheets in there. We just have, there are lots of available, I think, in the market, where you can ask a child to follow a line, or follow a circle pattern, or follow a snake, something like that. And if you think while you're doing it, the child is holding a pencil like this or this, the first thing is you teach child how to hold the pencil properly. So you just say, you don't hold pencil like this, you need to hold the pencil like this. Okay, and then as I said, the second stage, third stage can be where they start writing their own names as well. Anybody else before I move on to the reading? How to anything about writing here, or should we just move on to language rich environment? Rhyming, yeah. Language rich environment. Can anybody knows what is language rich environment? Again, as I said, I'm not judging you here. It will be nice to have some idea, so then I can just carry on with conversation rather than me talking all the time. Language rich environment, do we know? What does that mean? Somebody's written yes, they know what is language rich environment. No? Okay, I'm going to show you a video here, and that is about language rich environment at preschool, at very young age when children are in preschool. So what is language rich environment? Yeah. So just the video coming up here for you all.
What do you know about how children's oral language skill? Some of the things you do to encourage children to use their language skills, and how do you set up your classroom to ensure that children engage in rich language every day?
Oral language is the foundation for learning to read and write, and is critical for supporting the development of children's early literacy skills.
Oral language is important for literacy development because if children can develop the skills and the knowledge now, when they begin to read, they'll be able to use that information.
In a language-rich environment, children ages 3 and older should be building a vocabulary of at least 2,500 new words each year. As their vocabulary pool develops, children need to know how to use these new words. To do this, they need to learn 3 rule systems of language: semantics, syntax, and phonology. Semantics relates to word meanings. When we present young children with words that are disconnected from experiences, the words have no meaning for them. But if adults can supply words that are relevant to the child's experience while the child is experiencing something, the word takes on an instant meaning.
I have two things on them.
Those are utters. That's where the milk comes from.
There's a lot of research that shows that if children have good vocabulary, they'll recognize those words when they see them, and they'll have an easier time reading them.
As children learn new words, they need to know how to use them in a way that makes sense. If you introduce a new word within a context, children are more likely to understand its meaning and use it correctly themselves.
Oh, is he giving you a vaccine? This is a vaccine order.
As children add new words to their vocabulary pool, they need to know how to put them together. This is called syntax. Syntax refers to grammar and the order of words in sentences. It's common for children to make syntactical approximations.
There's a big difference between the way a 3-year-old talks and the way a 4-year-old talks and the way a 5-year-old talks. Teachers begin to recognize how children put words together into making sentences, and they begin to recognize the kinds of errors that children will make when they overgeneralize a rule. For instance, saying, I builded a big building. Yes, you built a great building, so that the teacher is then modeling back how, without correcting the child.
Because he don't want to go.
He doesn't want to go for the walk, maybe?
When children are reading and they hear themselves read, if they have strong syntax, they'll recognize, oh, that doesn't sound right, and then they'll go back and they'll self-correct or correct themselves. So syntax is really important for them, not just with their oral language, but it sets the stage for successful reading as well.
By modeling proper syntax and producing a language-rich environment, you can help children learn correct syntax with relative ease. The third rule system is phonology. Phonology relates to the sound system or phonemes of a language. Young children listen carefully when adults talk. As they listen, they're learning how to articulate the sounds they hear. This takes a lot of practice.
Some sounds are much easier to pronounce, like vowel sounds, because children aren't needing as much muscle development. The flow of air is very fluid. Consonant sounds are much more difficult to articulate, like k or er.
Noah, I know watching. Noah, I know watching, so you have to try to run away from me.
If children have good knowledge of the sounds, good use of phonology, they'll have a much easier time connecting those letters to the sounds and recognizing them when they're encoding or writing words or decoding and reading. So the three rule systems, phonology, semantics, and syntax, are really important for teachers to focus on. But if children develop in each one of those areas in terms of their oral language, they'll be able to use those skills and be more successful as future readers and writers.
Some areas of language development that are most predictive of later written language success are expressive language, receptive language, listening comprehension, an unusual vocabulary or rare words. Expressive language has to do with how well children use language to express their wants and needs.
Can I have one more try that?
Receptive language is how well children understand what others say to them in conversation.
All right, who's ready for some water? All right, hold it with your hands, please.
Listening comprehension is children's ability to understand and connect to stories that are read to them or songs that are sung together. Unusual vocabulary or rare words are words that are not typically used in daily conversation.
I don't see the parts of your butterfly in your sketch. Where's the abdomen and the thorax?
Some of the most interesting research on vocabulary development in young children has focused on adult use of rare words. The children who had the highest vocabularies were not just the ones whose parents used rare words, but parents who used what the researchers called semantic support, to use common, ordinary explanations that a child can understand.
That's called symmetrical. It means it has the same colors and the same designs on this side as it does on this side.
High-level vocabulary only comes from hearing high-level words, but it's not enough just to use those words. We must also provide explicit support.
You insist, said the hyena, laughing eerily. Eerily is another word for like spirit.
One of the best ways you can foster children's oral language development is to provide a language-rich environment in your classroom.
A language-rich environment is just where there's a lot of talking. Children are engaged in language use and language play with each other. Teachers are moving around the room and using language, listening to children, encouraging children to talk with each other. They'll ask children to explain things that they bring in, maybe items they brought in for sharing or things that they've created. They'll give children opportunities during group time to talk about or act out something that they've done in class. They'll set up areas of their classroom that have 2 or 3 or 4 or more children so that there's a lot of social interaction. The teacher should be there to scaffold their language development and bring their abilities to the next level.
One strategy for fostering a language-rich environment is using child-directed speech. When you use child-directed speech, you listen to what a child says and then respond using language that is slightly above the child's level of speaking in order to expand their language.
Mine is a lot of lines.
You're making lots of lines because you're moving it a lot of times.
When you respond to children using child-directed speech, you model more advanced vocabulary and appropriate syntax. Another way to provide a language-rich environment is to engage in self-talk. In self-talk, you describe what you're doing as you're doing it.
I'm going to find my name tag. It's Ashley. I'm going to put on my apron. Make sure I'm ready.
Another strategy that is helpful for language learning is called parallel talk. With parallel talk, you narrate the child's actions.
Oh, I see you put the feet under the legs. I see you put the hat on top of the head.
Self-talk and parallel talk provide you with an opportunity to connect actions to words children may not yet know. In language-rich environments, teachers are careful to utilize these strategies and engage children in conversations throughout the day.
One of the challenges in a preschool classroom is really knowing the key things that we know matter for literacy later on, and utilizing opportunities that occur spontaneously or things children do in the context of our planned activities, joining with children in a conversation, getting more out of the opportunities that are presented to us.
So that was about language-rich environment. Anybody's got any ideas or anything you provide or you should be doing it, or anybody's got any questions about language-rich environment, how you can provide language environment and all? Come on, you just watched a lovely video here. So it will be nice to have some conversation. Okay, so language-rich environment is in your good practice when you are working with babies. Again, it's very, very important. Reading starts at early age, but as I said, that they can't read, but they need to understand, taking notes and notes of words. If you remember in the video, it just said a child learns, they should be learning at 2,500 words per year. Their vocabulary should be developing. And for babies, they just say they learn thousands of words. So if you can see on the babies, it's important for babies that you read them lots of baby books. So if you've seen those thick baby books in the market, you should have them for babies so they can turn the pages, but they will put it in their mouth. But those baby books have like a single word, like bucket, picture of bucket, and then the bucket. Water, picture of water. Fish, and then the picture of fish, and the word fish. And babies love those books. So you should introduce books to children as young as when they are 3 to 6 months old or 7 months old. Okay, very, very important. Again, singing, lots of rhyming, Baba Black Sheep, or any other songs, you know, the lots and lots of nursery rhymes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Once I caught a fish alive. So lots of things. So in baby room, these things should be going on. Baby books, singing, talking to them. I think we all know that babies love talking, and we have experienced that, which is unfortunately going now from the society. I would just say where children are given the phones or tablets, where nobody's talking to them. Where we grew up when the grandparents talked to us, and when children are talked to them, the vocabulary really, really developed. Babies can understand hundreds of words before they start to speak. So when somebody is talking to them, they are communicating with their eyes. They are communicating with non-verbal communication, we call it. Yeah. So they are communicating through non-verbal communication. So it's very, very important that people talk to them. Toddlers, again, books. Books are very, very important. If you want children to learn to read as early as 4-year-old, in this country, yes, they do start reading at as early as 4-year-old when they're reading single sentence books. So then it's very, very important that the books are introduced to them as soon as possible. So again, toddlers, you can have books, songs, rhymes, printed words around them. So in your classroom, again, when I was talking about environment in my previous webinar, having that enabling environment, there were lots of printing words. You know, there is a word, just so the children understand that these words mean something. So I don't know if you do that, but when children are coming in here, every child will have a drawer. On that drawer, they will have a name. They will have a coat bag or book bag or whatever you want to call it. And then on that bags, they have their names with pictures. So then they identify their names. They will have maps in their room. They will have displays in their room. So there will be lots of printed words around them. So they understand that reading means something. Displays, talking to them. Role play, again, as I said, role play, having that role play area, very, very important. Having a home corner or a doctor's set or a police station or something like a role play area where they can pretend to be someone else and they're talking to somebody, and that gives them lots of opportunity to talk to each other, and that gives That's also important for practitioners to come in and they can sit down and talk to them. You cannot force children to learn, as if you learn in that video as well. Children will learn things, especially under 7, if that thing interests them and if they can make link to that. Okay. So it's a telephone. Why do we use telephone? To talk to parents or something. If you just show a telephone to someone, a child, they might not find it relevant. So they need to find it relevant. Preschool children, again, books, songs, rhymes, prints in the classroom, role play display, and then you can start phonics activities with 3 to 4-year-old. So you can start phonics with them. But again, as we said, story writing, stories and books are must. So every book, every room in your preschool must have a book corner, a writing area, a role play area, lots of printing around in the classroom, and all these things, displays, and all these things just help children. That provides them a language-rich environment that gives them opportunities to talk. You're doing lots of activities, even sitting down and doing a Play-Doh activity, you know, that's giving them opportunity to, oh, what is this? This is flour, this is salt. How does it feel? Is it soft? Is it hard? So all these things, you just giving them loads and loads of vocabulary when you're talking to them. What color is it? You're teaching them about colors and all those things. So talking is very, very important. And there shouldn't be any screen. No phones or no tablets or no television. Phones are not allowed in this country anyway, legally in classrooms for different reasons, for safeguarding reasons as well. So you should plan activities according to ages and stages of development and work towards developing vocabulary of children. It's very, very important that if you want them to read, they have rich vocabulary. So when they're trying to read a word, like say cow, in a phonics writing, so they will read k, then ow, that's how we get, or cat. So k, ch, that's right. But if they have heard the cat word again and again and again, it's very easy for them. They will catch the word straight away. Oh, that says cat. If they never heard that simple word cat, they're not going to, it's going to be hard for them. So same, richer vocabulary makes them better reader. So anybody's got any questions about reading, what activities we should be doing? Again, please have, it will be nice to have some conversation from your side. Anybody? You got any questions about reading activities? How you can support children's reading development? How you should be, what activities you should be doing? Storytelling, telling them stories, very, very important. Yes, talking to them, books. You can do big activities where you can just making them sit down in a corner, like a circle time, and you tell them stories. Or it can have one-to-one stories. Okay, so you should have a book corner. It's very common here. A child will come and they say, "Oh, can you read me a story?" Books give them lots and lots of opportunity to learn new words, how the grammar is developed, how you do a sentence, you know, how the writing is done. They even understand when you're doing the reading for them that English or Hindi, or maybe, I don't know, there are too many books in Hindi for children, but then they will understand that writing, you just read that. You read from left to right. So that's the way English is taught. So you read from left to right. So when you're reading at very young age, you just put your fingers there and then you just tell them, so they will understand. Maybe you ask children to turn the books. So they need to know that you just finish writing, you finish reading, and you turn the book, and there is something on different page. And these things should be done when they're babies and toddlers. So by the time they come to preschool age, they are at least aware of the print words, this and that, and then they can jump in the phonics activity. Anybody's got talking with children by Sentry activities? Yes. Talking to children all the time, whatever they're doing, is very, very important because you are putting in new vocabulary. So doing like an activity for sinking and floating. So you can do an activity where you want to teach children about sinking and floating. So what you can do, you can have a water tray, you can have a sink and float word. So you taught them new vocabulary. So when it's their turn to read the sink and float word, it will be easier for them because they know that word. Okay, so having that rich vocabulary is very, very important. And rich vocabulary can come by providing language-rich environment. in preschool age, or even parents at home, if they provide language rich environment at home. Anybody's got any questions? Any other questions about language rich environment, or how you should be providing language rich environment and all? Okay. So phonics, I think that's the way the reading can be taught. So for phonics is a program when your child is learning to read, there are two crucial things to learn. So phonics is basically a reading program which is used in a lot of countries, but that's too, I don't know about Hindi, how you teach Hindi in India, which I can't remember how did I learn. I can read Hindi, but I know about English. So for English, the phonics is a reading program. So through phonics, you teach children to read. So there are two ways of reading, teaching them reading. The first is you teach them the sound represent of the written words. So you just teach these sounds. So you just tell them that this is the S word, and this you make them learn this word, and you teach them that this word makes sound. And then once they learned every sound, like s, a, ch, and then you teach them to blend the sound. Okay, so that they will learn these three words. I don't know if you can you see what I'm trying to show you here through my post-it note? Can you see that? Can you just write yes or no? Can you see that? My post-it note, because I can't see my webcam. Where is it gone? I don't know. Can you? Okay, here. Can you see that now? Can you see that now? Can you see my? Okay. Okay, so here, I think some people can see. So here, you will teach them these three words separately. Ka, a, cha. So they should be able to know these words first before they can start reading the words. So if the child knew the word cat, really, if the child has heard that word cat a lot, and when it's time to read that word, the child is going to learn it quickly or read it quickly. And that's called phonics. And they can read, once they know that CAT is like a cat, they will be able to read it. But a cat is a very, very simple word. Okay, so there are lots of tricky words as well, like long words in English. Yeah, so the children need to be taught about reading all those words. So the phonics is about sound, what the sound represent the written letter, and how to blend the sounds together. The stages at preschool age, you should work towards developing children's vocabulary. And the second thing you should work towards, there are lots of activity. I can do the whole session on that. It's called letters and sounds or phonics activity, and what phonics activity you should be doing at what age. There is a whole thing, a whole session can be done on that. So before they start to learn, identify these sound, a sound, t sound, you should teach them. You should prepare their ears to listen to different environmental sounds as well. So you can do some games like you playing a tape recorder or something, where you're playing an aeroplane sound or a bus sound or a bird sound or something like that, and you asking questions to children, what is this sound? So making their ears ready to learn to different sounds. So once they are ready, once their listening ears are ready to listen to different sounds, it will be easier for them to learn these sounds as well. So I can show you a bit about, what time is it? Oh, it's the time now. So there is a link here if you want to just take note of that. It's called What is Synthetic Phonics? It's got lots of videos in there. You can have a look at that, and it gives you lots of tips about what is synthetic phonics and how you can teach children about phonics and all. And as I said, we can do the whole complete different sessions on phonics as well, if we have time at some point later on. My computer system seems to be hung up here. Okay. So the key factors to keep in mind when you're doing emergent literacy is, again, every child is a unique child. Okay, so you cannot expect from each child to reach to the same stage at certain age. So the key factors is when you're doing reading and writing activities, you need to remember that you can't expect from every child to do the scribbling when they are 2. Start forming letters when they are 4. They can't do that. So you need to remember every child is different and they're going to do it at different age. But yes, if you got their concern about their reading and writing stages, once they have crossed that age, for like, even if a child is like 3 to 4 year old and still can't do scribbling, then you will be worried. And the research have showed that boys are behind. Boys, there are loads and loads of research has been done, and boys are behind in reaching to writing stages. So girls are better than boys when it comes to writing. So when you think, can you tell me why, can you give me some ideas why boys are behind than girls? Why boys can't do writing as good as girls? Anybody? Anybody's got any idea? And there's loads and loads of research has been done. So it's not me saying it. The researchers says the boys has been behind, and that's why boys are not able to do good at school as much as girls. They were not, but lots of intervention has been put in there. Anybody has got any idea why do you think boys are behind in writing stages? So the stages I showed, the girls would reach to those stages quicker than boys, and the reason is that boys don't like. So if you observe that in your preschool, if you have done a writing area, boys would never go and sit down on the table and chair, and they won't do coloring in. They don't like doing coloring in. Yeah, what they like going outdoor. They like playing with construction toys. They like riding bikes. And that's why what we do here is we just take, because that's their interest, so we take chalks outside. The funny thing is, the one activity we do is, I don't know why they like painting. So you put like water in a pot, and then it's a paintbrush, and they like painting the walls. So that's what they like to do. So you should be doing something for boys as well. So you need to do planning. You need to just think about that you just think, okay, I put something for children and that's done. No. So you need to think more carefully when you're planning for boys. Plan activities outdoor. Can't have rolling on same sheets on yearly basis. I know some playgroups in India, or some even chains, like a big chains, and they are just putting the sheets outside. Same time, same sheets going on years and years and years. No changes in planning. You can't do that. That's not appropriate. You should plan according to children's needs. You should plan according to their ages. So you should observe, assess, and plan. So if you have so many boys in your school, say in your preschool, and you have put lots of writing stuff outside, you've done a nice writing table, you've done nice coloring on activities and everything. Boys are not going to come to that. Then you need to think, okay, that's not working in my setting. I need to plan something else. Similarly, sometime even girls might not be interested in there. So you need to plan, and you need to think about what you're planning, what you're putting in for emergent literacy, for emergent reading and writing. And I think that's where I finish. So I don't want to do any assessment with you. You're not my proper students here. But anybody's got any questions? Do you have any questions? Anybody's got any questions here before we finish off about emergent literacy, emergent reading and writing? And if you can just, if you learned something, and if you can drop in few things about what something new you have learned, or have you learned something new about reading and writing, or what activities you can plan at what age group, what you should be doing, or what different things would you do in your settings now, that will be lovely. It will be nice to hear from you all. So can I have some nice lecture, somebody said. Just if you can see on the board. So what should be your role as an early years teacher? What do you think? What would you do differently now in your setting? Anybody? Or what would you do differently as a teacher, which you didn't know, or maybe with whatever I said, you all knew everything about that? Anything? No? Okay, I think we'll have to say, because time is finishing now, so we'll have to say bye to you. So thanks again for attending this, and I hope you enjoyed the session. And we will be hosting some more webinars later on, so maybe hopefully you will be attending them more. Bye bye for now.